Hey YouTube, Amanda here on behalf of Core TCG, and before we get into today's video, I would like to congratulate Junior Dorson, who got first place at YCS Indiana with 6 Samurais. Top 8 also consisted of Hierarchs, Windups, Chaos Dragons, Machina Gadgets, Geargias, and Insectors. So congrats to the players also piloting those decks. Today we'll be covering a few cards that people commonly get mixed up. Right now we're going to get into Effect Veiler. Now we all know what Effect Veiler does. You discard it from your hand during the main phase, you target a monster on the field, you negate its effects. Now, the thing is, it lasts until the end phase. And the question is, well, what constitutes as it ending on the end phase? What exactly happens? Now, most people assume as soon as the end phase occurs, its effect suddenly fizzles. But that's not how the card works, and that's not how the game works. And a resolution still must occur once an effect activates. In this case, Effect Veiler's effect lingers and then resolves on the end phase. So this is the way it works. Turn player always has the first opportunity to resolve an effect. He can choose to resolve it, or he can choose to have an opponent resolve an effect first, so he passes priority to the opponent. At this point, the opponent can choose to resolve an effect, or pass it back to turn player. At this point, turn player is forced to resolve an effect if his opponent chooses not to, whether or not he does, and this is when the whole thing with Effect Veiler comes into play. Here's an example. You have an attack position windups and mains. You attack my higher attack monster that's also in attack position, and then detach a material to save Zen mains and stop it from being destroyed. Then you enter your main phase 2. At this point, I activate Effect Veiler, targeting that Zen mains. Then you enter your end phase. You, as turn player, can choose to resolve Zen mains' effect to destroy a card on the field, which at this point, Effect Veiler hasn't resolved yet, or you can pass priority to me. You choose to pass priority to me and not resolve Zen mains' effect. I choose to not resolve my Effect Veiler and pass back to you. At this point, you're forced to resolve your Zen mains' effect. So no matter what, you as turn player controlling a windup Zen mains loses in this situation, and the Effect Veiler will always negate that Zen mains. Another example is mind control. If I attack your Zen mains and you detach a material, and in main phase 2 I activate mind control, on the end phase, I can, as turn player, can choose to resolve that Zen mains' effect to pop a card on the field before returning it to you and resolving my mind control effect. So this is really important to know because a lot of people do mix this up and they say, oh, well, you're on end phase, you don't get to use those effects, or you do get to use those effects. But in these specific scenarios, as you can see, this is exactly how it works. So hopefully this can clarify a few things. Now the next ruling I'm going to cover is on Spirit Reaper. Now a lot of people get confused as to what is and what isn't a continuous effect. And 99% of the time, the best thing to do is just look it up online. It'll immediately appear on the Wikia page if it's a trigger, continuous ignition, etc. And that way you can determine what it really does, and no more confusion on that. But in the case of Spirit Reaper, its effect to destroy itself when it's targeted is a continuous effect. The same thing with Xian. Its destruction effect, the ability to save itself, the same thing with Zen mains, the same thing with Gachi Gachi, those are all continuous effects. And sometimes you can just assume something is a continuous effect, though it's always good to make sure and look it up, by just looking at the fact that it can't logically fit into the chain if it were an effect that activated. For example, it would make absolutely no sense if you activated Dark Hole and Zen mains chained to that Dark Hole to protect itself. It just doesn't make any sense. So that's one of the ways to determine that. Now with Spirit Reaper, the thing is, and all continuous effects like the ones I mentioned, they have to completely resolve. Whatever effect that would be destroying them has to completely resolve for their effects to kick in, which occurs on resolution of that effect. Because remember, you can't interrupt the chain with an activated effect, but continuous effects apply on resolution when they would be applied. So in this instance, Spirit Reaper, if you activate Book of Moon, it'll flip down that Spirit Reaper, and the Spirit Reaper won't be destroyed because it's no longer face up on the field to apply its continuous effect to destroy itself. This was something that came up a few times, and I saw at Nationals, and actually some judges were even making wrong calls. It was on Soul Taker and Spirit Reaper. Some people were saying you don't get the 1,000 gain from Soul Taker when a Spirit Reaper gets destroyed, but that's not true. You have to completely resolve that entire effect of Soul Taker in order for a Spirit Reaper to kick in. So, you activate Soul Taker, you target Spirit Reaper, then you destroy it, you gain 1,000, and then Spirit Reaper would activate at this point, but can't because it's already destroyed. So those are the rulings for today. This week's coupon code is DDG Samurai. You can enter this on coretcg.com for a 10% discount on all singles, so that's pretty neat. Also, make sure you check out the SEs. Return of the Duelist Special Edition is now officially out, and that's really cool because there's a lot of support being beckoned that will go up in value once Abyss Rising comes out. And of course there's your money cards like your Giant X and Grand Soil and even High Priestess. So those are pretty cool since there's a pretty high ratio of good secrets you can pull. Of course, my name's Amanda. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Take care.